Are you ready to crack the code on closing bigger deals and landing better clients? Welcome to The Closing Code, the podcast for sales pros and agency owners who want to master the art of selling high-ticket digital marketing services. In each episode, your hosts, Clinton James and Josh Konigsberg, bring you real-world strategies, actionable insights, and proven tactics to help you level up your sales game. No fluff, no gimmicks, just the tools you need to win more deals and build a thriving agency. Let's get started.
Okay, we're back with another exciting episode of The Closing Code.
So Josh, last week we kind of dug in a little bit in terms of preparedness, right? Doing the homework, showing up, doesn't matter what stage of the sales process that you're in, making sure that you get that homework done so that you show up prepared, can bring some value to every conversation that you have with prospects. It sounds like to me in another group that you're associated with, this kind of came full circle. So tell us a little bit about the event, what happened, and kind of the lesson from preparedness.
Yeah, well, actually, it's part of the coaching that I do for Seven Figure Agency. And again, tremendous group. Shout out to Josh Nelson and Yesenia Nelson for creating this group. And I do a coaching mastery call every Wednesday for members. And there was a new member that hopped on the call and he started asking me what was basic sales questions. I can't even remember what niche they're in. And a couple things came up. He's struggling closing as I asked him to share your screen, show me how you're closing. And he goes to that slide on the slide deck where he's got 3 different programs that he wants to sell them. And he has all 3 of them on one slide.
Not the way I would do it, but okay.
Not because I would recommend anybody out there listening do it. Okay. So I asked him why he did it that way. And his answer was, well, I want him to know what the options are. I said, well, what happens with consumers and the psychology of consumer behaviors when you have too many decisions to make? What happens? You don't make any. You're giving them too much to think about. I said, so can you customize? I asked him if can you customize this based upon what their budget is? Yeah, and here's where the preparedness comes in. So it's not just being prepared with the slide deck and modifying it based upon the budget. Well, how do I know what their budget is? Well, be prepared, I said. Be prepared with their budget. I said, what's your niche? And it doesn't matter to me whether it's landscaping, plumbing, whatever. I can't remember what niche he was in. But I said, why don't you go to the Industry Association of America for whatever the industry, every industry has some association, and they're going to have a recommended budget for their members for marketing. Go to them, defer to them as the expert. So now we're going to say, according to the XYZ Association of America, they say that you should be spending 10% of your revenue on marketing. So based upon that, this is the plan that's going to work best for you based upon where you are and where you want to go. So remember, your marketing budget's going to be based upon a percent of your projected revenue, not your current revenue. If you base upon your current revenue, that's the definition of insanity. Spending the same amount of money and expecting different results.
100%. For anybody that's having those conversations, they really need to be early in the sales process, right? You need to find out what that client is doing in terms of annual revenue, what their goal is like for 2025, what they're looking to do in revenue. And between that and the numbers that you shared, you should be able to get a good understanding of what their budget looks like from a marketing standpoint. You'll actually save yourself a lot of time. That kind of leads us into today's topic, which is a step in the sales process that you added at your agency that has made all the world a difference. So most traditional agencies, I'll put mine in that category. We traditionally have either what some people call a discovery or a strategy session, get the information, qualify the prospect, try to deliver value. And then based on how that goes, then we would schedule a sales demo where we actually presented our solution. You've added an additional step before the strategy session, before the discovery call, and you call it a right fit call. So tell us what the right fit call is. Let's start with that. Tell us a little about what what you do during a right fit call.
So I think it's even more important to step it back just a little bit further. So depending on where the lead is coming from. So Clinton, if you just happen to have an attorney friend and your guys are having dinner or whatever, and you really ought to call my friend Josh, and he can help you with your marketing for your law firm. And so you give him my number, and the guy calls me. Well, we only deal with 5 different types of lawyers. So if he doesn't fit into that category, do I want to have a deeper conversation with him? Do I know what if he doesn't have enough money to really afford us, if his revenues really aren't there, right? My friend just started out on a new law firm. He just is out on his own for the first time. He needs your help, right? So depending on the referral source, so we have several trusted referring partners.
Okay.
That's a topic for a different call, but if I get a referral from one of my trusted partners who know or ahead of time who the right fit is, I don't have to have the right fit call.
Okay.
So the genesis of the right fit call came out of our outreach, our marketing for ourselves.
Okay.
So as much as we want to have the right message to market match so that when they come back to us that they are the right fit, not all of them are. So I had to stop wasting my time talking to people who don't practice the right type of law, don't have the right mindset, don't have the right revenue. So the genesis of the right fit is just that. And I don't even do them. I have a sales assistant do.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about that part in a second. So I think one of the things that you said that's super important is the sales process for a lead might be different depending on the channel that delivered that lead to you, right?
Correct.
So your trusted referral partners, because they know the type of attorneys that you work with, they know the levels of revenue that attorney needs to have, the type of law they practice that would ultimately make them a good fit to work with you and your agency. You know they're not going to put you in front of someone that's not necessarily a good fit to work with your agency. Whereas somebody that responds to content marketing or Facebook ads or a Google ad campaign that you're running specifically from the agency, doesn't matter how well you tailor the messaging for those channels, you're going to get people that ultimately respond to it. And maybe it's an aspirational response as opposed to a realistic response in terms of whether or not they're a good fit.
That's right. So well said. So, and even if you put the qualifiers or disqualifiers, let's say, as part of the funnel, so there might be a quiz, for example, and do you they lie. This quiz is only for lawyers and law firms, and I still get spam coming through, right? So, so the first thing my team does is we've got a tracking sheet. The first thing they do is they go and find the website, obviously. But if there's no website, and even if they put a Gmail account, we'll try to search them that way to see if they're even really a lawyer.
Okay.
Okay.
So you put this process in place. How long have you been using the right fit call for your sales process?
It's about 6 months, and the call can last as short as 60 seconds,
Yeah.
or it can last as long as 15 minutes.
Now, when you first rolled out the right fit call, was it you making the call or
I made
from the
first,
beginning?
yeah, I just made the first couple since I wanted to refine the process, make sure the questions were right, and make sure that they were easily asked and answered by a lower level employee.
Okay. So you got your outline, your set of questions that you want to call, and then who on your team right now is the person that handles those right fit calls?
So right now I have 2 people doing them. I have the sales rep only because I shut my funnel off, and so until she gets busy again, dealing with the discovery calls and the strategy sessions, and I have a sales assistant who is a virtual through actually got her through our sponsor, Virtify.
US based or offshore?
She's in Guatemala. Yeah, she's unbelievable. So smart, so well trained in the past. I mean, she's constantly blowing me away.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because some agencies, depending on the niche that they work in, they may have some reservations about using an offshore person to make that right fit call, right? Because the last thing that you want to do is rub the prospect the wrong way. So tell me a little bit about how that's worked for you so far.
Sure. And that, again, that could be a different conversation, but this one very quickly, she teaches English in Guatemala. She lived in America. She speaks absolutely perfect English with no accent whatsoever. Typically what I would do is I would listen to the interview because I get a video interview of the person telling them about themselves. So what I do is I sit back in this chair, I close my eyes, and I listen to them, and I listen for, can I understand them without seeing them? Can I understand them? And because I live so close to Miami, is this someone that and remember, I'm dealing with attorneys, so, that's important that they can communicate with attorneys, right?
Sure.
So so, if could this person be based in Miami and have this conversation and be understood,
Okay.
right? That's how I do it. So you close your eyes and you listen that way. So, but I got to tell you, this person, she's just amazing to me. So
Okay. Well, with that said, Josh, we're going to take a quick break for a message from our sponsor. But when we get back, we're going to jump into a little bit more about what that call entails, what the goal is, and ultimately the impact that it's had in terms of improving your sales process there.
running an agency is demanding, and as you know, the process of interviewing, hiring, and training new team members is both time-consuming and costly. It can even hold back your agency's growth. We have found a game-changing solution in a company called Virtrify. Just like cracking the code to closing deals, finding the right talent is essential to your success. Virtrify partners with digital marketing agency owners to help them scale faster by providing bilingual appointment centers and salespeople from Latin America. As an agency owner, your time is best spent growing the business, not getting stuck in the process of hiring and training. Virtrify's staffing solution frees you up from those time-consuming tasks so you can focus on scaling. Ready to delegate and grow? Visit virtrify.com/closing code to find pre-trained salespeople who are experts in the closing code way. Let's build your high-performance sales team together.
All right, guys, we're back talking a little bit about the right fit call. So this is a new step in the sales process that Josh and his team implemented about 6 months ago. You've rolled it out for 6 months. How has the right fit call improved the quality of the people that you have showing up for your discovery calls or strategy sessions? And how has it freed you up in terms of your time, not wasting time talking to prospects that aren't the right fit to work with your agency?
Well, it's freed up an enormous amount of my time, obviously, because I'm no longer conducting them. So, what it's done is it's allowed us to eliminate, again, anybody who doesn't fit, then get them from right into the discovery call to a strategy session. So basically, we have now 100% from discovery to strategy. Right. So we know now not everybody ends up buying, right, at the end of the day. So, but it really has been helpful in getting us through. Oh, and I've had, only because so much of my business has been referral based over the years, I've had a tremendous 99% success rate. But now that from discovery to strategy session.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about on that right fit call. What's the average call duration? How many questions do you have masking, and what would you say is the average call length for that?
Yeah. So I have my screen open up here. There's about 20 questions.
Okay.
And some of them are specific types of wall questions, so they might not apply if you're a landscaper or a plumber or, you know, your niche, which is a home
Water restoration. Yep.
Irish. So, um, so depending on where the funnel is, so if they've watched a video, so we have this tremendous 8.5 minute VSL that we've created.
Okay.
So the first question we ask is, well, what caused you to watch the video? Why did you watch it? Right? That's gonna tell us a lot of information, isn't it?
Sure.
I actually have a drop. This isn't a spreadsheet in Google Sheets. I have a drop down for all the answers. They need more clients. Their practice is struggling. Their digital marketing isn't working. They're just curious about digital marketing or some other reason. All right. So this makes it fast for my team just to hit the drop down, drop down, drop down. Right.
Okay.
The next question is, what's your primary practice area? Because many lawyers practice multiple, right? And then we have something we call door law. Door law is anybody that walks in your door, you're going to figure out a way to help them. Okay. Not the way to grow a practice, by the way, not very scaled. um, and if they practice another area of law, I want to know is secondary. Um, that could eliminate them. They've got to be one of our 5 categories of law.
Okay.
And then I may already have a conflict. So if you're a personal injury attorney in Atlanta, Georgia, I can't help you. I have an exclusive relationship, long-standing relationship with a wonderful client. And What I might do is I might refer them to another member of seven-figure agency.
Okay.
No. In which case, I've already instructed my team to go ahead and continue with the call. Let's gather as much information and then we'll make a referral. Okay.
Awesome. What would you guess the length, the duration of that call is? On average.
Again, it's going to be 10 to 15 minutes. I'll just go through the question. So if you're, for example, if I'm looking at one today, I just did earlier today, you're a family law firm. You do divorce, obviously. You do child custody, yes. Uncontested divorces, some do, some don't. Spousal abuse, some do, some don't. Some refer that out to criminal, right?
Okay.
Narcissistic divorce. This particular person did not do adoption, right? And then modifications. So I then ask, are there something else? Is there something else that you do that I didn't ask you? So this might hold true for your niche. In this case, this guy says, you know what I do? That's not even on our website. They do legitimation for men. In other words, legitimatizing you as a man to have custody of your children,
Oh, okay.
right? So talk about a niche that we can exploit, probably exploit an opportunity gap in his market to get him more of those cases. Okay. Was there a type of case that you don't want? So for example, a lot of personal injury attorneys, they don't want nursing home negligence. And then I'll ask them, how do you get most of your leads right now? Some of this is just warming them up also, right?
Sure.
If you have more than one lead generation source, what is it? So now I got two ways to get leads. And anything else that you're doing, right? Oh, personal injury. I got these buses driving around town with my picture on. I get a ton of pumps from that, right? Whatever it is. Obviously in digital, that's not going to impact us at all, right? But just good to know. And it lets them talk, right? And when they talk, we get to listen, as we know that's super, super important. Remember, all these calls are being recorded if I need to jump back in, right? So if the sales assistant's doing it and it's for my sales rep can jump back in and listen. So are you working with an agency right now? Yes or no? Do you mind if I ask the name of the agency? That's important for me to know. I know who my competition is, don't you, Clinton?
Yes, I do.
And that's part of being prepared. Then I ask them the projected annual income. What do you think you're going to do this year? And then what do you need help with right now? What would the ideal scenario look like? How good is that question? This is where they really begin to open up. Now, listen, if they said on their current annual projected income is $150,000 for 2025, they're not the right fit for me.
Sure.
It's done. It's over. Okay. So, I want to ask that question earlier, but I won't get it. I won't get an answer early.
Okay.
I've got to warm them up. I've got to build some comfort. Okay. And so I had an attorney say once, I'm not telling you that. Well, I'm not. And my response was, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help you. Well, I'm not giving you that information. Well, you know what? I can't really create a budget unless I know what your revenue is going to be. And so if you're not willing to disclose that information, we're probably not a good fit. Now, do I want his business? Of course, I want everybody's business. But what kind of client do you think that would be for my team?
Nightmare.
Nightmare. All right.
Absolute nightmare.
So, what would ideal be for you? How good does that feel? Okay. And then I got a little section for just any other notes that my team might find ahead of time. I'm having them do a little bit of research right ahead of time. So, and this is part of an 8-tab spreadsheet. And it's actually the second tab. My team has already taken the information from that's come in the funnel and filled out certain pieces of information. Obviously, I want to know the firm name, the primary contact, his title. If I can get, obviously, I'm getting an email address. I want their URL. I want to know if they have any additional partners, what their primary address is, if they have any secondary Google Business Profile locations, any secondary, tertiary addresses on their website. I want a link to their Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube so I can look at that.
Okay.
So it's all right here, one click away for me on my pre-qualification, just I call it a background information tab.
So this is
So
a huge time saver in that it eliminates a vast majority of the prospects that aren't a good fit. It also allows another person on your team to help you with the homework that you would do prior to that next call in the sales process there.
correct. It's a bad time trade for me to have to go find somebody's LinkedIn profile,
Sure.
right? So Not only that, if it goes to the next call, past the right fit, great. My team has a script. Great. Congratulations, Clinton. You are the right fit. We can definitely help you. Here's the next step in the process. What we want to do is we want to have what we call a discovery call. Now, that's an important term because attorneys use that term, don't they? In law.
Yes, they do. They do.
So, in our discovery call, I want to find out a little bit more information about your market and about your practice. Okay. I want to know who your competition is. I want to know what your intake looks like. I want to know what your goals and dreams are. I want to know what your average case value is, et cetera, et cetera. And I hit all these bullets. That call is going to be somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes. After that call, what we're going to do is my team is going to go do about 3 hours worth of research and due diligence in your market. I'm going to uncover every possible stone that I can to learn more about your market. How can I help you if I don't know who your competition is? How can I help you if I don't know what your market looks like? I said this earlier today to a PI firm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I said, I don't know anything about personal injury in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, I knew they knew another big firm that does immigration, so I mentioned that that firm who's my client. But I know you know these guys. I know about that law in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but I don't know about PI. And I'm going to need your help to do my homework, right? You know. So I want to know what the search volume is for your specific types of law. If there's a sweet spot, what's your favorite type of case, right? I'm going to gather all this information, do my research. I'm going to create a digital marketing brief. It's going to be somewhere between 25 and 35 pages. Don't worry, Clinton. There's no cost for that.
I like that.
All I ask for in return is that we reconvene in a digital marketing strategy session. Notice the terms that are using are legal-based terms, right? Can reconvene, right? The jury's going to reconvene, right? So, we're going to go through the findings of the briefs because I want you to understand how this ecosystem works. I want you to understand on a cursory level. We're not going to go crazy on it, but I do want you to understand because that'll give you some insight on as to why we do what we do as an agency and what makes us so successful and what makes you so successful because your success is going to be our success, right? So we'll take a look at the ecosystem. We'll take a look at your competition. I'm going to take a look at opportunity gaps in the market that we can exploit so you can monetize them. Then we're going to take a look at some case studies of law firms that practice the exact same type of law that you do, and I can show you how I made them successful. And then we'll take a look at a budget, and together we'll custom design a plan that cost effectively and efficiently meets your needs within your budget. This is all scripted out for my team. And so if that's amenable to you, Clinton, let's find a time to have that discovery call.
And that's
How many?
right. That's where that's the important part. They are getting that next step booked. As long as they check the boxes that are needed for them to be a qualified prospect, they are scheduling that next call during the right.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
Yep. The right fit call. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, Josh. But the right fit call, is that a scheduled call as well? Because I have to imagine, especially when working with in a niche like working with attorneys, everything has to be on the calendar. You're not going to catch these guys at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon or 2 o'clock on a Tuesday and just have one of these calls randomly, right? So every
Only the ones that aren't the right fit are available.
all right. So every marketing channel that you have, whether it's referral based, whether it's social media ads, YouTube content marketing, every call to action drives that person to schedule that right fit call,
Yes.
right?
And
And it is a phone call.
it is a phone call. It can be a Zoom call or a phone call. And it's all mapped out in workflows. If they come in from this channel, this is what happens. If they come in from this other channel, this is what happens.
I think I'm going to steal this right fit call idea and start implementing this in my sales process.
Is there anything more frustrating for a sales rep to not have the right person?
Oh, 100%. Because I blocked off 30, 45 minutes for a conversation that I know in the first 2 minutes is not somebody that I think is a good fit for our service.
Just before our call, I wrapped up a discovery call with a family lawyer. And his problem with his current agency is they're not getting him the right fit clients. 'Cause they're getting us leads of people that are making $30,000 to $40,000 a year in income. They can't afford a $5,000 retainer. I said, you don't have the right message to market max. They're not the right fit for you. He said, how do you fix it? I said, I'm going to show you. So, so, so let me get you right. So my point is that it's not just digital marketing agencies. So my analogy, what to him was that because his comeback was, well, if your value proposition is right, anybody's going to buy anything. I said, that's not true. I said, because if I really want a Ferrari, I really do. But if I were to walk into the Ferrari dealership right now and they wanted to sell me a Ferrari, which is what they want, I really can't afford it. I kind of can, but I really can't. Right. So the value proposition is great. It's going to retain its value, the curb appeal, whatever, all that stuff, right? The status, not happening.
So that's where your right fit call is. Your right fit call is to find out whether or not that person can afford the Ferrari that is the digital marketing services that your agency offers there.
Right. Message to market match, right? That's Dan Kennedy.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So, and so again, I'll get back to the frustration. Oh God, I just wasted money on my clicks, wasted 15 minutes, my team, it all adds up, right? It's not the leads. The leads suck, bro.
Are we going to go down a Glengarry went? Oh,
Here's
okay, so let's take the digital marketing agency, the owner, the sales rep that's listening to this call right now. Let's say they haven't done this right fit call in the past, right? What's the first thing that they need to do to implement this call as part of their sales process there?
So you got to role play, right? First of all, just kind of brainstorm, mind dump, whatever you want to call it, what questions you think that are qualifying questions.
Okay.
And or look at it another way, disqualifying questions.
Okay.
What don't I want? So lay that out and then formulate it into, like, I like check boxes. It makes it drop downs. That's why I love Google Sheets, right? You can put your check boxes and your drop downs. So then role play it and see. And then have somebody role play on you so you're the customer.
Okay.
And then refine it. That's how.
Do you ever have a concern that these calls become too transactional, to where it actually is off-putting to a prospect that responded to whatever marketing channel it is, right? So if I am interested, like I went recently bought a couch, right? If I walked in there and they immediately started asking me qualification questions to see if I could afford, because it's a fairly expensive couch, whether or not I could afford to invest in one of these couches there, be a little bit off-putting there. So is there a way that you structure the questions that you ask so that that prospect doesn't feel off-put or like they're going through an interrogation initially?
Right. And that's why the money question is the second to the last question,
Okay.
right? So I can go to their website. You might be able to do it in your niche, right? For example, for plumbers, how many trucks in the fleet, right? So I can go to the website and see how many lawyers there are. I have a general idea of the amount of income each associate's going to generate for a law firm and how much a partner is going to generate.
Okay.
I can go to the website immediately and determine that. So I'll get pretty close. But yeah, that's why I ask it later. What's your current projected annual income? And again, if they don't want to answer that question, and by the way, since I've implemented, no one's actually said not giving me the answer. The answer I got that I told you about earlier came at a different time. Okay, like before I had this. So, yeah. So again, you got. It's not about judging; it's about helping. If we're not the right fit, why? So attorneys are going to, again, a little different because they're attorneys. They look at time in 6-minute increments because there's 10 billable increments in an hour. So I don't want to waste your time. So if we were to role play Clinton and you were the attorney, I'd say, listen, Clinton, I don't want to waste your time because I know your time's valuable. I'm not saying that a doctor's time isn't valuable, but they just look at it differently, right? Sure. I know your time's valuable. So I just want to make sure we're the right fit. And what's your projected income? And if it's below 500,000, I can't help you.
Okay. All right. Before we wrap up here, let's just do a quick summary. Again, Josh has implemented this right fit call. It is basically the first step for some of the leads, depending on the lead source, they go through before they get an opportunity to work with your agency. If the right fit call is something that you want to implement in your sales process as a digital marketing agency, the first thing that you need to do is write down a list of questions, right? What do you need to know about that prospect? And then based on those answers, who's a good fit and who's not a good fit. Then you should do some role playing, whether it's with a team member, with somebody in a mentorship group or something like that. Do some role playing so that you can get comfortable with it. Because my biggest fear is that it comes across as transactional and it rubs a prospect the wrong way. So you may ultimately decide you want to change the sequence in which you ask those questions so it isn't off-putting for any of the prospects there. Okay. And then once you've done that, it's about implementation. Just do it yourself for the first handful of these. And then once you've got it down to a science, then you can find another member of your team that can actually take over this responsibility for you. Right. And that'll free up your time so that you're only spending time with prospects that have the highest probability of ultimately ending up becoming high retainer clients for your agency.
Don't forget to ask yourself the disqualifying questions.
Yes, good point.
Just as important as the qualifying questions.
Questions who you do want to work with and who you don't want to work with.
That's right.
Okay. All right, Josh, this has been great. I for one, am going to start implementing this right fit call. I'm actually making a bunch of changes to our sales process right now, and I'm in the process of looking to hire a new business development rep. And one of their responsibilities will be these right fit calls. So I'm looking forward to implementing this myself. I'm going to pick your brain on it a little bit more, but that's all we're going to give the audience today. So,
And jump in if you're a seven-figure agency member. Jump into the the sales skills sessions Wednesdays at 1 p.m. If you're not a member of seven-figure agency, you're not allowed in. So
if you're not a member of seven-figure agency, you need to find Josh Newsom. You need to find Yesenia Nelson on social media. The free content that they give out alone can have such an impact on your agency there. So,
amazing.
all right.
Amazing.
All right, Josh, I want to thank you again. All of your valuable insight. It's been another great episode of the Closing Code podcast. Before we let everybody go, January is done. Tell us a little bit about the business that you closed in January, Josh.
So I actually did not have a fantastic month. A couple things got pushed.
And that's okay, because we want to show the audience that happens to everybody, right?
So, but the deal that I did close was ginormous for us. Our single largest closing of one client. So I only closed one. I had a couple of enhancements, but only closed one client, almost 18K a month in MRR, right?
Yeah. If you're going to close one account, it might as well be one that produces $18,000 a month in MRR. So, right. Awesome.
I'm going to be speaking at the 8-Figure Firm conference in March on how to close 6-figure deals, just like the one I just closed.
There you go. All right, man.
Okay.
Well, happy birthday to you, my friend. I look forward to seeing you this weekend in beautiful Florida. I hope it's beautiful down there.
It's beautiful right now.
Yeah, it's overcast and ugly here in Northern California.
Can I get one more thing out of you for my birthday?
You can. Can you see? No. I know what you might be asking for. You have to draw the line somewhere here. For those of you who don't know, I am a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, and Josh is a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. We are bitter rivalries when it comes to football. Josh wants me to say something nice or encourage the Eagles. I'm not going to do it. I'm going for the Chiefs this weekend. And that's all the time we got for today's episode, folks. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. Remember, we're not sales gurus. We're guys that literally do this every day. We're talking to prospects, closing business for our agency. So if you like what you heard, we look forward to you guys joining us for the next episode of The Closing Code. Thanks again, Josh.
See you next time.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to the podcast for more straight shooting advice on closing deals that matter. Unlock the code, close the deal, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Closing Code Podcast.